Harry,
Hmm.
Harry,
Yeah.
Harry. Oh God. Oh, you're up. I was worried. Harry, man, you almost didn't make it for the skit that we're doing that was planned ahead of time for the intro to this episode of Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark.
Ah.
Yeah, see,
Hmm.
welcome, folks. Completely off the cuff. That's the kind of earnest stupidity that you're gonna get from the two of us.
It's true.
Yeah. Welcome, folks, to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. I'm your co-host, Mark, and this is your co-host, Harry.
Hello.
And we're two intelligent people who hate talking.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. 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 Harry has awoken from a rather enjoyable sounding slumber.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it was
it'll be a little out of pocket, but I'm gonna be doing most of the talking today. Harry, other
Yeah.
than your bear nap, how was your
Yes.
week?
My week was um abnormal because I actually went out and did things, which was weird. Yeah, I
Oh my God,
I was in contact with other people.
that's amazing.
Yes. Finally saw family that I haven't seen in a while. Uh
Oh, good for you.
yeah. Played Magic, like paper Magic, since like
Physical
pre-COVID.
magic.
Yeah, like since before the quarantine and everything. So that was amazing. Um, but yeah, it
How
was
did
it
it
was
feel having the 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 antiquated, old, decaying paper in your hands?
um really weird. Um, yeah, I was trying to quote fucking uh Falcon and Winter Soldier when he's talking about the shield. Didn't quite work
I'm
out.
so sorry. I didn't realize what it would have been like to have been a person of color playing Magic.
Yeah.
Oh
But
God.
yeah, no, it was it felt good. It felt really good.
Yeah.
Um Playing Arena kind of kept my chops up, so I wasn't too off. I did miss some things, but you know, nothing like groundbreaking.
Not off your game like everyone else, huh?
Mhm.
Mm,
So
good man.
that's good. I won both games, I believe, with my Angel deck for Commander.
Mm.
And then I used my mono red deck and lost every single one, which is fine. It happens.
Hey. Trial and error, Bear. Trial and error.
It
Okay?
Yeah, I agree because the it was actually a deck that I was building before COVID, and so um it was basically a deck just revolved around just cards that I owned. So I didn't buy any cards to build it. It was just
Hmm.
like oh, here's a bunch of cards that you know I own. Let's make a deck with them. So that was it was cool. It was a fun deck, but
Well, knowing you, you tend to be like that fucking robot from The Incredibles where it's like, oh, here's a version of something. Then beat once. Oh, I've adapted. Then beat twice. Oh, I've adapted again, and now you're just wrecking everyone after the third try.
yeah, I guess so. I haven't done that with this yet. I haven't adapted yet, but I guess soon.
You'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in you.
um,
You're a learning
and
computer.
I think that's it. I think that's all that was during the weekend, and then just I got the windows of my car tinted, uh, to as like dark as possible, except for the windshield, obviously, but all
Hmm.
the side windows and the back windshield and um looks cool. The only thing is that at night there's barely see out them, so it's a little scary. So
You
I
don't strike me as a Tindo winded guy.
so I got my windows tinted for, well, the main reason is um to prevent the car from getting stupid hot, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I that's the main reason why I got it, cuz for the past several years I've lived inside of an apartment. So usually we have like underground parking, or some sort of like garage parking. So I haven't had to deal with having a car like just out in the elements for parking like overnight and all that
Hmm.
until I moved in here. So now the car is mainly just sitting there being baked by the sun. So what I did was I was just like, I need to tint the windows because it's getting a little ridiculous, because we would open up the door and it would be blistering hot in there, and then everything, I couldn't touch anything because it's just so hot in there. So that's the main reason why I got it. The second reason is obviously so people can't fucking stare inside her car if we're not in there, like looking to
Hmm.
like steal something, whatever. Um, and yeah, that's probably it. Those are the two main reasons why I wanted to get windows tinted. And like, it cost a bit, tint the windows and stuff, but it was worth it for me just because of those. Mainly the heat thing, because it was just getting really ridiculously hot, especially now that's becoming summer. I wanted to do it before it got really bad.
You're a man of practical taste.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Straightforward. I like it.
And that's it. My experience with tinted windows is so far is, yes, they help with the heat, but I would probably recommend not getting like really high grade um tinted windows for your driver and passenger. Probably, so I got 5%, which is like, the highest, or depends on what the percentage. So 5% means only 5% like visual through it, so it's like
Hmm.
really dark. So I got that all around, where I would recommend maybe like a 15 or 20 for like the passenger and the driver, just because you can actually at night see outside of it better, and also during the day, like I have sometimes I have an issue looking at my side mirror to see behind me. So I
If
don't know
that's the
if
case, we should just paint your windows just completely black.
you're right.
Don't even tint them. Just get the black paint. I'll even get the primer.
That'll work. but but I think it's just I might just need to get used to it because I've never had tinted windows in a car. So I
Hmm.
think maybe I just need to get used to tinted windows. We'll see. I'll give myself maybe like a week or so and see if I get used to them being so dark.
If not, you'll just scrape the tinting off yourself.
Yes.
Here we go. That makes sense.
But how about yourself? How has your week been?
Harry,
Hmm.
my week has been fairly standard. The same gish gallop of doing nothing
Fair
and
enough.
watching TV and reading seems to be the only thing keeping me sane enough. The final stages of the quarantine. Since we are on, for the most part, I mean, we're not out of it, but we're close to the up and up on this thing. Hopefully,
Yeah.
at least in the United States. Sadly, how everything's been going, it's going to be a problem for a long time, but not on a large
Hmm.
enough scale to be that much of a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, actually today and yesterday I showed my girlfriend The Goonies,
Oh.
and Yeah, I know, right? The Goonies and Labyrinth. And I actually just barely couldn't finish Labyrinth before we started the podcast. So yeah, I'm really trying to get her to see more stuff. She has kind of like an era down too. She likes the like that kind of lived in 60s, 70s, 80s vibe. Probably the 70s and 80s, maybe the early 90s, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to show her more movies from that era, and I really want to show her. Since I showed her Labyrinth, or I'm showing her Labyrinth, I really want to show her the Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's heard it, and the hype kind of got to her. But when it comes to me showing her stuff, she's more receptive because
Mm.
I'm an asshole. So I showed her David Bowie, using a Fushigi, and she's enjoying it, and she really
Mm.
enjoys the practical effects, which is something that I'm grateful for because I really enjoy Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's another reason why I want to show her the Dark Crystal, because I think like the Dark Crystal is just one of those really great kids. I almost said cartoons. Um, One of those really great kids animated films, technically animated, I
Mm.
guess, animated with puppets. I don't know, but I'm not going to be like, oh man, that was the perfect era, and we need to
Right.
go back to that. But like, that's a really really good art form, the use of puppetry that Jim Henson just was pretty much the only guy to like do really well. And as a fan of Dark Crystal, I watched the Netflix show, and
Oh,
as
okay.
much as I enjoyed the show itself, I almost felt like we just lost some kind of technology. Like
Mm.
like oh man, we invented like penicillin 2000 years ago and then just lost it somewhere in there and then just, you know, found out about it like another 80 years ago. So, watching The Dark Crystal, I think it's called Age of Resistance, is such
Yeah.
a weird experience because you're thinking, "Oh, well, it's like this perfect blend of CGI and puppetry." And you would be right if it didn't feel like it was like a 40-year backslide from
Right.
uh from the original. And it's almost interesting. Like Age of Resistance is still a fun show. The puppetry is still really good. The costume design is fun. Uh, the puppetry is still very impressive. But I keep coming back to like there's just something that almost feels like a backslide. It's
Mm-hmm.
so fascinating to see when you're thinking about the technology that was used versus how it's used now. So yeah, that's pretty interesting, and I like that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I showed her the Goonies. She loves Sloth, and I can't get over the ending scene when Chunk is like, "We're gonna adopt you, 'cause we love you," and Sloth is just like making those chirping noises, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, that shit is so corny, yet so heartwarming. And I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, like, man, how do they do it? Because this shit should be like grown,
Mm-hmm.
and it is grown, like grown. But man, do they do it?
Yeah.
And it just tugs at your heartstrings. And the guy's got like an eye where his fucking cheekbone should be, and you're just like, oh, he's gonna adopt him. It's so cute.
Yeah.
See, my girlfriend agrees. Just groaning. Yeah. Anyway, my weeks are pretty standard. I work. I wish I wasn't working, and I read. Like I said, I've been reading Clash of Kings, and it's pretty fun. I'm wondering how long it's going to take for the next book to come out because apparently it's been in development for about 10 years, and I wonder if George R. R. Martin's going to actually be able to finish the final book before he just like KOs. Um,
Right.
but I've actually been reading some of his other stuff. He came out with this really fun short story. It's not even 20 pages, and you can get it in a free PDF if you just
Mm.
Google it.
Okay.
It's called Sand Kings. So
Sand
like,
Kings. Okay.
yeah. I actually almost like it more than Game of Thrones. But like,
Oh.
it's about this rich asshole who essentially like has these illegal exotic animals, and half of them die when he's on a trip from like neglect. And he's like, ah, fuck, I need more pets to neglect. So he goes to this like bazaar from, it's in the future of science fiction, so he does this on a alien planet, and he
Whoa.
goes to the Woe and Shade, and he's sold these like creatures called Sand Kings, and the way they're described, they're almost like ant termite, like some kind of bug in that like area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he buys like four separate kinds. He buys a red, white, black, and orange one, and they
Mm-hmm.
can like adopt any size in relation to whatever environment they're in. So they're kept in this small little container, and they can apparently like create rudimentary structures, and they'll put the likeness of their queen on the structure. So it's like one queen, and it's called a maw, and all of the males are kind of like drones.
Okay.
So he buys them. He's like, oh, I'm fucking bored of these ant things. It's like just a boring ass ant colony. So he starts starving them, right, to get them to fight over food with one another. And he
Yep.
starts inviting people over. I'm probably just describing it really poorly, but it's like this whole god complex thing and the relationship he has with the Sand Kings. It's really fun. I actually haven't finished it. I've only gotten 10 pages in, but I totally recommend it. It's completely free. It's like a super quick read. I've been trying to read it while I've, had downtime at work.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know what it is. I like George R. R. Martin's writing style. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
so that's my
That's
week.
that's good. It sounds like a solid week. Standard, but solid.
Yeah, I can't wait till the pandemic ends, and I'm just gonna do the same thing and then die
No.
many, many years from now.
But
So anyway,
yeah.
what's the next subject we want to talk? What did you want to talk about, Harry?
What did I
What
want to
did
talk
you want
about?
to talk about? Yeah.
Look, man. There's there's a new set, Modern Horizons 2 coming out, and I'm hella stoked off Magic. And since I started playing Paper Magic, I've just been thinking about that like crazy. So that's really all that's in my mind. Um,
Let's
Commander
talk
decks,
about it.
paper, modern decks, and I've been playing some more Arena just because I'm itching to play. Um,
Hmm.
it's really what's been going through my head. A lot of Magic the Gathering. Um, but I'm not going to turn this into a Magic the Gathering podcast. It's just not
It's
going to
not a
happen,
Magic
Mark.
the Gathering podcast. It's a fun, we talk about whatever we want podcast.
Fair enough. I'm just, dude, I'm brewing modern decks. I'm brewing commander decks. I'm upgrading decks that I haven't touched in fucking over a year. I'm back into it, man. It's crazy. I'm trying to calm myself down from spending hella money because I'm like, oh, I need this, I need that, blah blah blah. But I'm like, I learned my lesson from when I first started playing Magic, where I would like buy hella stuff and then realize, oh, I'm not gonna play this deck, and so I have like a few decks, and I'm like, these are my main decks, and I'm gonna be
Hmm.
spending some actual money on. Where everything else is gonna be more of like a, is it worth 25 cents? No, I'm not buying it. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because it's just, it gets really expensive, man. And like it's just, when you sit down and play Magic, like generally, like for me at least, um like I usually play one deck. I
Hmm.
play the one deck so I can get better at it and see how to play it, cuz like if I play it once, I can have a good game, but I can also have a crappy game and not know how well
The ins and
it's.
outs.
Yeah, and then if I switch
Hmm.
to another deck, same thing, right? If I just constantly keep switching, I'm never really gonna like know what the what's the word? Just yeah, how it runs, if it's running better, if it's running worse, or do I need to make some adjustments? Like I'm never gonna actually learn and what it's gonna be good or bad against, right? So I try to
Hmm.
stick to one deck and try to play as long as possible. So if it's like, if I have like 12 decks and I'm only playing like 6 games, like I'm not going to be able to play all of them, right? And I don't
Right.
play like every day, I'm not even be probably going to be playing once a week, maybe once, twice a week or once, twice a month, sitting down with
Once
people.
every other week.
Yeah, pretty much.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's like I don't want to sit down, spend money on something that I'm probably not going to be playing anytime soon. So,
Well,
um,
still though, I know that you're probably the most hyped to play, and when I hear you playing, it makes me want to play. And I stopped playing way before you did. I stopped
mm-hmm,
playing before not stopped, but I mean like I just hadn't played since before the end or beginning of the pandemic.
yeah,
So, because when I hear you playing, the fun that you have from it, it makes me want to play.
mm-hmm,
But yeah, I when it comes to what you're talking about with deck building, I've never been good at it. I have a fairly like rudimentary understanding of the game,
mm-hmm,
especially since I didn't invest nearly enough time. Like you know me, like I would I would pause the fucking game to like create my own strategy,
yeah,
and it would always seem so easy when you guys were playing, and I never knew how to do that. And part of it was mainly because I didn't play nearly as long or as thoughtfully as you guys. But I know exactly how it feels to like to work with a deck and get that exhilaration from like losing,
mm-hmm,
but losing from tooling with your deck, right? Where it's like, oh man, I can't wait to play again and try the same deck but with this change or
yeah,
this sideboard.
yeah. Fair enough. Um, yeah, just magic. It's it's consuming. That's like
It's
the best.
magical.
It's magical. And that's it's doing that to me right now. Um, but you and I should definitely play at some point. Sit down some paper magic. Uh,
Oh, I'd be down.
yeah,
I like playing with you because it's not as much of a like a competitive schlock fest. So
yeah. I can see that. I can see that. The other thing is, we still need to beat Shadow of the Colossus on my PS4.
oh my god. Don't remind me. I'm
Yeah.
totally down.
So at some point, now that vaccines are done and we're going back to quote unquote normal, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. Cause I've been going over our friend's house, Lucy and Peter's house, and Peter and I on the PlayStation have been playing this game called Gauntlet. Um,
Yes, I've heard. Not
yes,
that you've been playing it, but I've heard of Gauntlet.
yeah. So if don't know what Gauntlet is, it's basically a dungeon crawler, like straight up dungeon crawler. You go in, play a level, you kill a bunch of creatures, you pick up gold, and then you beat the level, and that's it, right? And you use gold
Hmm.
to buy some equipment or some gear, and that's it. Um, but there's like, you know what I mean. I'm a trophy hunter, so there's trophies for the game, and I played it once. I was like, wow, this is fun. I was like, I'm hella down to play this. Co-op and stuff, and that's the cool thing. You can co-op with up to 4 players, which is cool.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So we've been doing that. I've been bringing over a monitor in the PlayStation, just so now we've been playing that while Um, our partners are just hanging out and doing their own thing.
Right,
So
right. Oh,
yeah,
that sounds
so
super fun.
I'll say one of these days you and I can have at it at Shadow of the Colossus. It'll be good.
Oh,
It'll
I'm
be good.
fucking down.
Mm-hmm. Because that is a game we need to visually see, with the PS4 upgrade.
Oh yeah. Everyone who views, all one and a half of you views this knows that like where Shadow of the Colossus is to me, like I don't think it's a game visually that I love, but like how do I put it? Like it's a gorgeous game. Like I'm not a big fan of like the gloominess or the drab color palette, but like it's still gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. And like Harry almost quite literally got it just to watch me fucking play it.
That's true.
Um, I've had so many solid memories with you just passively, like not even watching, but like hearing me play.
Yeah.
And I can enjoy that game in any format whatsoever. And I actually want to see you play it
Hmm. Me.
just
Okay.
to get an idea of how you would do, or like yeah, I don't know. It just seems like fun. It's like the same thing as watching you do the BioShock game, the original BioShock, not
Oh, okay.
fucking Infinite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm totally down. I'm down for all of that shit. Gauntlet does sound super fun.
Yeah.
There's a game on the Xbox too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a magic God, what is it? Spellbreak, I think. I don't know. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's
I heard
another
about it.
dungeon crawl game where you play like a mage or a wizard, and you cast spells, and you have to clear out a roguelike procedurally generated like dungeon, and it's really fun. You get like these cool power up abilities
Oh, okay.
and all this shit too. And I think that's two player. I'm not entirely sure. It could be more, but another idea of like that kind of like dungeon crawl. Uh, your currency is what you get from that level, and that's it.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. So I like that premise too, especially if you're playing with friends. Like that's the end all be all when it comes to the arcade style stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm down for that.
Yeah. And next week is E3.
Oh, shoot, you're right. It is that
Yep.
goddamn time.
I believe Sony is also withdrawn from E3 as well this year.
Okay, I'm not surprised that they've been
Yeah.
withdrawing the past few years. So, I mean,
Yeah.
man, it's crazy to think because E3 was it was the platform to show off your
Mm-hmm.
games, and now I guess with
Now it's a bit fractured.
yeah, I think now that people have the internet, I think Sony's just like I don't need to be with E3.
Do this anymore.
We could
Yeah.
just stream our shit. People are on Twitch, on YouTube. Like most of the people who play video games watch on Twitch and YouTube anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them don't even know what E3 is anymore. Like we just have our own thing and people find us. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. And yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
us growing up, like E3 was it. Like, oh, E3, this is where we're gonna hear about all the new stuff. Now it's
I remember shitting a brick for Halo 3 in 2006.
mm-hmm.
The Believe trailer, I think it was, where it's like he's just walking in the desert and you see the Ark or whatever it is,
Yeah.
the portal to the Ark, and it's like, oh god, oh now we gotta wait a whole year for that. But yeah, I do remember that era where it was like E3, I think began in 1997,
Mm-hmm.
was like the end all be all showcase for video games. And now you have like Gamescom, you have all these other, not Gamescom. Yeah, Gamescom. You've
Mm-hmm.
got all these other events too that have other sponsors, or like Sony's probably going to have its own thing from now on. I don't know. But I'm interested again, I know I'm a big Arcane guy, but they're apparently coming out with their own game now too. Uh, Apparently they're taking inspiration from Bloodlines, the Masquerade, or Vampire Bloodlines Masquerade.
Okay.
Uh, I've actually never played it. I've been really interested in playing it for a while. It's an immersive sim vampire game. Um, in the I think the early 2000s, the late 90s, probably the early 2000s. And
Mm-hmm.
Omen, as it's been codenamed, takes a lot of inspiration from this game. Apparently, it's going to be a vampire game in the vein of like Dishonored. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm also super excited for Fable. Apparently, they're rebooting it.
Oh.
I wasn't really, I think like everyone, a big fan of Fable 3,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Fable 1 and 2 were like super fun games. I grew up with Fable 1, more
Okay.
so watching it than playing it, but like I'm interested in seeing what they do since it's going to be a reboot, so it's not going to necessarily be connected exactly to the original 3 games.
Yeah.
But I'm still interested because they've been trying to get a Fable property back into the mainstream for a while. They did kind of like a card game, I think, or a tabletop video game. They did like an online game,
Interesting.
and none of these really kind of hit the same way Fable 1 and 2 did.
Okay.
Yeah. Um yeah, Halo Infinite apparently is going to have a 10-minute block that's going to focus a bit more on multiplayer after the fucking disaster that was last year.
Yeah.
Everyone loved Craig the Brute. They're going to be introducing a couple, I think, a Battlefield or another Call of Duty IP. They're going to be introducing. I think Bethesda's going to introduce their next game,
Oh, okay.
Starfield. There's been a
Oh, okay.
lot of chatter that it's either coming out sometime this year or sometime next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure at all. Like all these rumors are kind of like being all back and forthy. At the very least, we're probably going to get some kind of information on the game, something a little more concrete.
Yeah.
Um, Now, um, Obsidian is coming out with probably more information on their own Elder Scrolls esque game from
Mm.
the Pillars of Eternity franchise, Avowed.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've kind of gotten a bit of Bethesda fatigue, especially with their Elder Scrolls series and definitely with the Fallout series.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think I've ever like completely finished a Bethesda title. Um, I remember Morrowind being, I think, the most immersive Elder Scrolls for me, and I'm really excited because a couple interviews that Obsidian has done says that they're kind of taking more cues from the Morrowind game than Oblivion
Okay.
or Skyrim in terms of like immersion and storytelling and game design.
Yeah.
Uh, they said this will essentially be the spiritual
Okay.
Elder Scrolls 6 while you're waiting for the next one to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested. Uh, I've liked Obsidian for what they've done. I liked the Outer Worlds if it is a little eh.
Yeah.
Uh, I definitely enjoyed what I played of God, what am I saying? Of New Vegas. Like
Okay.
it's an exceedingly fun game. They definitely took like watered down versions of what they did with uh, New Vegas and put it in Outer Wilds. And if like Outer Worlds, if Outer Worlds is like a fraction of their effort,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see what they're doing with like an Elder Scrolls esque IP that they've been putting years of work into.
Okay.
So that's something I'm on the lookout for. Omen, I'm on the lookout for. Something to get me hyped for Arcane, as always. Apparently, they might be doing another Dishonored. I personally think they left the Dishonored franchise in a nice spot. Um, I feel like anything else they would do with Dishonored would probably be just lore and story building. I don't particularly think the Dishonored franchise has a great story. Uh, so all it would be would just going to new places and experimenting with pretty much the same abilities that you've had before.
Okay.
And I won't complain about that, but I do think that Arcane using the same abilities and putting them in other games is fine. I feel like it wears a little thin when they're using them in the same game repeatedly. Like Blink. Blink is essentially something that every single Arcane game has, whether it's Dishonored, Dishonored 1 or 2, Prey, what looks like it's going to be in Deathloop as well. And I would probably imagine this Omens game is probably going to have some kind as well. That's all fine and good. But I feel like the more you have it in the same game, like the more you have it in Dishonored 1, 2, and Death of the Outsider, it there's no reinvention with it. Like I get it's a staple of the developers to do it in their games, but I
Right.
get a different feeling when it comes to sequels. I know I'm talking a bit too much about Arcane,
No, it's
but
fine.
I'm just interested mainly because I think it's one of the few games I've taken the most time to research or look into at least
Right.
with E3.
Yeah.
But yeah, E3, like you were saying, E3 used to be that thing that I always found time to watch live, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It would be like, oh man, Ma, I'm not going into work today, or Ma, I'm not going into school today. I'm not feeling good, and then I would just watch something on my TV while everyone was working, or I would, call in sick ahead of time and be like, oh hey, I'm just gonna relax and I'm just watching E3, and it's their Sony or
Yep.
their Ubisoft conference. Even if I think Ubisoft is garbage, it's still like the fun of seeing just this mass amount of games just
Mm-hmm.
previewed all at once.
Yeah, it was just because it was seeing all the new games. Like, even though you weren't the biggest fan of the company, you still wanted to see what was coming out because you're like, oh,
Oh
something
yeah,
good
of
might come out.
course. Yeah.
So just crazy that's kind of gone. But at the same time,
Eh.
like it's a different time. Like I said, like now with Twitch being so big, it
Yeah.
Sony I think Nintendo hasn't been on an E3 either, right? I could be wrong.
I think Nintendo is, but I think you might be right. I don't think Nintendo's probably going to put the same amount of stock in that they have before.
Yeah, I mean
They might.
Nintendo's one of those companies that like they are Nintendo. Like you
Yeah.
can't play any of their games anywhere else. So it's like they can do whatever they want. They have their following, and you can't really have them lose that following. You know.
Yeah. Nintendo has always been, ever since the 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
the Xbox and the PlayStation kind of had their little silly thing going on.
Yeah.
The Nintendo like product has always been more like, oh hey, here's this fun thing that we have, and people have
Mm-hmm.
loved it. People have been fucking eating that shit up, and it's
Yes.
like it's like the PlayStation and the Xbox or Microsoft and Sony have just been kind of like duking it out, boxing in this fucking ring, and then here's just Nintendo in a smaller ring right next to it, just shadow boxing with itself. So
Yeah.
yeah, good for them. I'm interested in seeing like what game expos look like in the coming years. I still
Mm-hmm.
think E3 will be around. It'll probably have to change to be more relevant. Um,
Yeah, it does.
but I mean, either way, you're still gonna get massive like dumps of video game previews. There's no way that you can't. There's no way that you can just not preview games because that's part of the enjoyment, right? Like
Yes.
that prestige that's like, oh hey, you're getting a lot of games all at once. You're probably going to be excited for most of these titles. Here's something to look forward to, and it's not just the one game. It's it's something for
Right.
everyone.
Yeah, like I guess it's kind of like what Sony did with Horizon with the most recent State
Yep.
of Play or whatever. It's just they just showed the
Hmm.
one game like here you go, here's a new update. Like it's funny because I was talking to someone at work about it where I was kind of talking about how like me not being buying a PS5 anytime soon, but in like a week they're coming out with basically the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's super tempting. Like I really would love to play that game, and then also the new Horizon game. And I'm like, but I also don't want to spend fucking hello money on a PS5. So,
A
um,
man should buy an Xbox.
yeah, and it's just like I don't want to, but it's really tempting to just for those games. But at the same time, down the road, like in a year or so, I'm sure they're gonna have way more product of games and high quality games that the
Hmm.
PS5 will be worth it. To me, right now, like it is tempting just because of that one game, the Final Fantasy Remake DLC, but that's it.
Yeah,
And
I get you.
but other than that, there's not really a lot of quantity of games, so it's like I'm not going to, but down the road they're gonna have more. Right now they don't have a lot, you know.
Yeah,
Horizon's kind
it
of like
just
their
like
only game.
yeah, it it's great marketing. It really is because it's
Yeah.
like that's what they want from you. They want you to be able to be like, man, there are only these couple games, but like they're good, and I
Yes.
want them. And it's like, would it be worth, you know, $500 like to play something partly based on nostalgia and something and partly based on like playability, like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy, can't wait to play that for because I'm a Final Fantasy fan, and can't wait to play Horizon Zero Dawn because that like is time consuming
Yes.
and good. I'm not trying to say it's just
Right.
a marketing thing, but like it's probably a good game, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still designed to like consume your time.
Yes, 100%. Um, but we'll see. I mean, I'm again maybe in a year or so I might if the PS5 is on sale and they're offering things, I'm like, oh heck yeah, I'll get one. But right now, no.
No.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm um, but I'm looking forward to it though, because um, they're games are only getting better, and dude, the what the new consoles have like inside of them with the SSDs and the graphics cards they have, like I'm excited for video games to be what's the word? Just be better. Like I can't really explain it, but it's um like I was watching a PlayStation have their little conference and explain why the PS5 is so groundbreaking with SSDs on like how you're supposed to create games. Like um they're saying like games have doors and loading screens, and like the way
Hmm.
you traverse from one area to another, it's a specific way because you have to load the entire area in first before someone goes in previous consoles. But with the new PS5, none of that needs to be there because it's so fast that it doesn't load in an area. It just loads in whatever is in front of you, which
It's
is
seamless, yeah.
yes. And I'm like, oh damn, I didn't know that. And I'm just thinking about the possibilities of like, because I've been playing PC games for a while now, and
Hmm.
what's been stopping PC games, like there are specific games that are PC only, but what's been stopping PCs from being so much like playing higher quality games is that most of these games are for the PC and consoles. So it's like they have to make games for the consoles, so they're kind of they're being held back, from being for their
Right.
full potential. Where now with the PS5 and the new Xbox, it's like they're not being held back anymore. It's like
Hmm.
here's create what you need to create. The new consoles are able to handle it, and I think that's fucking
I'm just,
fantastic.
yeah, I'm interested in seeing where the money incentive comes, because I mean it's like
Mm,
I know it's probably not going to entirely be the case, but I really hope we can come back. You can have your always online Call of Duties and looter shooters and all that. That's fine. But I
mm-hmm.
would really like, as you were saying, an emphasis on like really, really heartfelt, genuine single player experiences. Because I think that is an art form that's slowly changing to be less prioritized, and that's something that I hope the PlayStation 5 can expand upon. Like, oh well,
Oh yeah,
it's not just the fact that it's visually and technologically good. It's like we can still make good stories with it. We can
yeah,
still make great single player experiences. Like, I don't mean to trash to multiplayers or massively multiplayers. I just
right,
mean to say that I feel like the money, we've talked about this before. The
yeah,
the money making incentive has kind of taken away the the priority of single player.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I hope the moment you said that, by the way, I thought of Orange Box.
Oh
I
yes,
thought of I thought of playing Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and there's a scene when you're uh, you're driving through the forest heading towards a Black Mesa uh, like base, right? And
yes,
to go in between levels, you have to go through this tunnel, and the tunnel on the freeway. You're driving, right? And
mm-hmm.
it looks black on the inside. You drive through, there's a white light at the end of the tunnel, and then it freezes, and then it does the bottom little loading
Yeah,
bar icon, and then it glitches back to the frame rate, you know, normal frame rate per whatever play, and the white light now is the exterior new area you're in. And I don't know, I I was thinking of that and I'm like, I like the novelty behind that almost, because
mm-hmm.
the moment you drive through it, it gives you like the new chapter title. And I'm like, I wonder
Uh,
how that would feel if it was seamless. And I was talking to a vet about this a little bit before you came on, I think a week ago, where it's like,
okay.
what happens when we get to a point technologically where, you know, developers have thought of an animation for when you run your character into a wall?
Mm,
Like the novelty of playing like a game where you know it's a game and it's silly just isn't there anymore.
okay. Yeah,
I think that'll be interesting.
yeah.
I'm not saying like, oh man, oh this game's too perfect. It's not like
Right.
the past. I just God, God, fucking kids these days, they'll never know what it's like to run into a wall and your character doesn't react. No, I mean like, but like I think about that sometimes where it's like there
mm-hmm.
are things that we acknowledged when we played, and there are things that
Yes.
like that I mean, even with something like Uncharted, I remember
Mm-hmm.
reading Game Informer when Uncharted came out, and they were like talking about how uh, the rendering for Nathan Drake was like, oh, we have like 50 different cover animations, and like he would put his hands on the wall if he's too close while he's walking by, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, like right, like
Yeah.
someone thought about that and thought how that translated to when you're using like a controller
Mm-hmm.
when using an avatar to like run into a wall like an idiot, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think of that and I think like what's different for this generation and then the next one when it comes to video games and the things that are seamless.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
No,
I
it's
just
it's a good thought because it's true. You know, we don't know. Uh, what I mean, I'm not a game developer, so I'm not. You know, what I mean, like, I'm not 100% sure what can be done. You know, so I'm excited because yeah, like as soon as they don't have to make games for the PS4 or um you know what? I have no idea what the current Xbox and the previous Xbox, like what the difference is name wise. I just call them
Hmm.
the Xbox out now and the previous Xbox. It's so
New
confusing.
Xbox, old Xbox.
I That's just a little side rant that I have. But anyways, once they stop making games for those previous generation consoles, like you know, man, I can't think about what kind of game. Like man, no more transitions. Like I don't know. Like it sounds amazing. You know, like
Our old brains can't wrap around it.
that's basically it. It really is. Like it just I can't grasp what it can be, you know, or what it can turn into and what we can be playing because it's like we've never had that. I've never played a
Right.
game like that, you know. And it sounds great because
Hmm.
I'm playing again trophy hunting. I'm playing a bunch of older games where like when I go to new areas, I have to load in, right? There's like little sections, like little like pathways that I have to go through between each large section of the map. And the reason for those is because it's loading up the next
Huge.
section. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like it's like playing those collectathons from like 20 years ago. That's
mm-hmm,
kind of like a dead genre now, where it's like the novelty was so necessary that they had to make funny things to do in between for some games.
yes, 100%.
What's that Budokai Dragon Ball Z Budokai bit where it's like if you like circle the analog controller, uh
Oh,
the
yes.
flying Nimbus with Gohan starts flying around, or like
Mm-hmm.
Spyro when you're flying in between realms, you can
And
like
Spitfire.
move. It's like, yeah, you could spit fire and you could move your character around. Like there's some games where like they anticipated what you would do during that novelty, during that like thing that was entirely necessary at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, like, I know the Half-Life bit probably wasn't the most, I think, uh, pertinent, but like now I think of that thing
Yeah.
that was there in a generation. Like, okay, we get it. This is kind of boring, but there's nothing we can really do because we have to show you a different location and we have to load it in. So here's this funny little thing that you can do in the meantime,
Yeah.
and
And
that
yeah.
won't technically exist or need to exist in uh, in future games.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, now that you're talking about it, like it kind of does suck because they are. What it reminds me of is Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, right? Has that little you know, the now loading or whatever, and you can like make it squiggle and all that stuff, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so on the original PlayStation, you know, it takes a bit, so you can like make it do weird things, you know. But in the PS4 version that I have now, it only takes like a couple seconds, so you can't really mess with that. It just like pops up for a second. You can kind of start messing with it, and then you start the game. So it's
Hmm.
uh, like that novelty's gone because it's like, oh, I don't even get to do it anymore. Which is like you get to play the game quicker, but it's still like, yeah, you're right. Like the novelty's gone about it, you know. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's weird to think that it's gonna be gone, right? Because games don't need it anymore. But it's still like, um, I don't know. I guess it's one of those like, you know, you win some, lose some. Like, yeah, you're gonna lose out on that, but think of the possibilities of what games can do now, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
Like I'm again like I wonder how this will affect game design, where it's like you have the freedom, and the same thing with the Xbox too, I would imagine, if that's the
yeah.
case. But like that freedom that comes from almost like limitless power, or not power, but like capabilities.
Right. Yeah.
Like how will that translate into games? Like I know you and I are talking about like, oh, it'll be seamless, oh, it'll be this and that, textures and this, but like what what will actually change instead of just making things easier? Like, what can be done? Are we
Mm-hmm.
still gonna like? That's the thing is, it's like I feel like a guy writing an article in the 50s talking about the year 2000, like, oh, you're gonna have a watch that can play movies and it's powered by kerosene. Like, okay, you got 2 out of 3 of those things right,
Right.
but the third one's just way the fuck off. Like, what will be able to happen, and when will the next big jump happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some really great videos talking about something like Half-Life Alyx, and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they were saying like, Half-Life Alyx was an experiment. It was an expensive experiment. It wasn't the game that everyone wanted because it was letting people know that the idea for this game wasn't gone. They were just, how did they put it? They went about saying that the game was more a preview for things to come and
Mm.
setting the standard. Because Half-Life, for the longest time, was associated with technological advancement, right? So Half-Life
Yes.
1 comes out at the end of the 90s, um, like peak visual performance. And God, the game looks so silly now, but like the idea of it being peak visual at one point. Then Half-Life 2 comes out. Half-Life 2, when it came out, and that's the funny thing about Half-Life 2, is it's probably the weakest visually now. But when Half-Life 2 came out, it had some of the best facial animations, the
Yeah.
best in game, mind you. This isn't like extra cutscene bullshit. Like, the characters emoted more than anything I had ever seen, and still do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they were ported for Xbox and whatnot, and then that kind of prestige left. But Half-Life Alyx premieres with a very expensive, very exclusive technology, something that
Mm-hmm.
Valve anticipates will probably cheapen and become more widely usable in the next couple years. So the idea of the next Half-Life game being on this VR headset is something that they expect.
Mm.
And that coincides with like the idea of technology going farther and farther ahead. The idea that Valve wants to set that precedence again where the Half-Life franchise is associated with like technological leaps.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, always excited.
Yes. That was a good little rant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Um. But um. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really have anything to topics, but that was a good little rant that we had going off with
Damn
video games.
straight.
But we do.
Um,
Go ahead.
yeah. No. Please talk.
We were gonna talk about movies, specific movie
Yes.
trailers.
Yes, because we do love those things.
Yes.
So it's not a trailer for it is not out yet, but I wanted to bring to attention a movie called The Northman.
Northman. Okay.
Um, The Northman is the third film by Robert Eggers or Robert Eggers, whatever, doesn't
Yep.
matter. You may know him, Harry, from The Witch or The Witch
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and The Lighthouse.
Okay. I haven't seen
So,
Lighthouse, but yes.
I'll show it to you. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Um, so he is a, I mean, I don't think he's like the end all be all, but he's a particularly impressive filmmaker. He
Mm-hmm.
apparently does a lot of background research. I don't know if he has any kind of degree in anthropological studies or anything like that, but most of what he does in terms of writing or filming has to do with like archived like documentation. So The Witch,
Okay.
meaning I probably used unnecessarily complicated words. What I mean is uh Eggers based Witch off of some kind of uh shipping document
Okay.
for Witch.
Huh.
So it used like old, or no, not old, but like late Middle English or some kind of, you know, weird puritanical English or whatever. Um, and it documented the it's probably not like shipping or anything, but it's some
Mm.
kind of day-to-day like ledger entry. And he essentially extrapolates a script off of that historical like piece of thing, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Lighthouse. He based a portion of that story, I think, off of some kind of short story or like shipping manifest
Yes.
uh, that essentially goes over like the area that they're shipping to, uh, old journals and whatnot. So it's very interesting. Uh, Back to the point, The Northman is a story set in, I think, the 11th century Norway or
Okay.
somewhere in Scandinavia, and follows this Viking's uh, journey for revenge for the person who murdered his father.
Mm-hmm.
From the way that he makes films, this is definitely a larger scale film. He works in very small locations, single locations with a very small cast. This is apparently one of his larger movies, if not his largest film so far. So I'm interested in seeing what he does. He's a very skilled, very competent filmmaker, and I'm interested in seeing what he does with a little more money.
Yeah.
Uh, the last two movies that he did was like with a shoestring budget, and the atmosphere, the tone, the writing, like all of it was pitch perfect, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Right.
I think Lighthouse is probably a little wackier of a story, a little more cerebral. But I think The Witch has a great sense of tension, a great sense of like purpose as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with one, multiple locations, and two, a larger budget because he's getting both.
Right.
Um, it has a very large cast: Alexander Skarsgård, Ethan Hawke, Nicole Kidman, Anya Taylor-Joy, the actress who was in The Witch, is also in this as well. Bjork is making her debut after like 20 years apart
Oh.
from her other film debut.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in seeing how this turns out. I like the actors, I like the filmmaker. I really want to see more of him, and this is another movie that's on my list. Um,
Awesome.
so talking about filmmakers we like, everyone at one point their favorite filmmaker was Neil Blomkamp. Uh,
That is who?
District 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So District 9 comes out, I think, in like 2010. Everyone fucking, oh man, this guy, da, da, da. He's
Right.
made two movies in between. He's made a bunch of short films. Um, Again, he's another filmmaker. I think uh, I'd like to see what he does with a smaller budget. I loved District 9. I think it hasn't quite aged well, but I still think it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Um, his other two films, Elysium and Chappie, uh, I don't think quite landed as well as District 9 did. Elysium, I think, is a
Mm-hmm.
little too much, in my opinion. And Chappie is like a return to his smaller roots, if still a little aimless.
Yeah.
Um, but after that, he essentially like stops
Oh.
doing big budget films. He founds a small indie production company called Oats and works with a couple talented actors every so often and makes like I'd say like 6 or 7 really good short films. Like
Mm.
back to his fame, his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Um in the early 2000s or late 90s, he made like 4 or 5 really, really good short films. Yellow, Tetraval, um, Alive in Joburg, which is what District 9 is based off of. Um, and I think he's most competent when he is constrained a little bit. To the point. His first feature-length film in a couple years is finally being introduced, and I recommend, if you're interested, check out the trailer. It's called Demonic. It was made during the pandemic, very small budget film, Canadian production. Uh, there isn't much to the story, it looks like, but very straightforward, except it's got an interesting concept.
Mm.
It looks kind of like The Matrix meets The Exorcist.
Oh.
Yeah. So
All right.
throughout the trailer, there are scenes where this person looks like they're being projected into virtual reality. And
Yeah.
within the virtual reality environment, there's like this demon or collection of demons that seem to be hunting this girl. And in the real world, she seems to be connected to this tragedy that involves her mother. And it is this tragedy that she brings into the virtual world.
Oh.
So I don't think it's necessarily like a psychological science fiction thriller,
Mm.
but it definitely has some of that element to it. But it's definitely like a horror or a kind of like a religious horror, it seems, but with a lot of like matrixy science fiction elements to it, like the virtual reality stuff. So that's looking really, really fun. And I recommend,
Yeah.
if anyone's interested, take a look at the trailer. Northman does not have a trailer yet. I just wanted to bring attention to it. Demonic does.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
God, I could have sworn I had another movie I wanted to recommend, but you know what? I don't think I do.
no.
Oh,
Nope.
uh, one more that I think is interesting that I haven't really heard that much about is I'm not sure if it's a miniseries or a movie, but it is a retelling of Stephen King's Salem's Lot or Jerusalem's Lot.
Oh. Okay.
Uh, for everyone who loves Adrian Brody, and you all should, he plays like a 19th century Maine sailor or captain who purchases. For anyone who doesn't know, essentially, Jerusalem's Lot is this area in Maine with this haunted ass mansion, and this guy called Barlow, I believe his name, buys up that property, and people start going missing, and you find out that Barlow is actually a disgusting ass vampire, and he's
Ooh.
creating a little coven inside Jerusalem's Lot, aka Salem's Lot, and starts to take over the town. Um, this looks like kind of like a divergent retelling of the story set in like 150 years in the past, um, in old Maine, with kind of like a different premise. But usually Salem's Lot is fairly contemporary, so I'm interested in seeing what that has to do with it,
Okay.
especially since like they basically did the same thing in
Yeah.
Castle Rock.
Okay.
Yeah, Castle Rock basically has this habit, not habit. Um, the Amazon show takes a bunch of different stories, short stories from Stephen King's work, like The Dark One or Salem's Lot or a bunch of other stuff, and they tend to like
Mm.
Misery, and they tend to water down the story a little bit to combine a couple of them at a time to put them
Okay.
into one season. So I'm interested in seeing if that gets another story, but I'm also interested in seeing how this new Salem's Lot figures into everything too, or how they
Okay.
do it.
Sure.
Any recommendations, Ari?
Um. No, I have not been keeping up with anything like that. Like I said, my mind for the past like week or so has been
Magic.
Magic the Gathering. But yeah, that sounds they sound interesting. Of course, I'm down to start going to the theaters and watching movies with you. Just
Yeah.
because fun and also just to get back into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, most of these sound good. Obviously we discussed before the whole are they gonna keep releasing movies on streaming platforms and also the theaters, or are they gonna go back to theater only? Um, I don't. I mean, I haven't heard anything from anyone really. Just
Mm-hmm.
speculation of what they'll do, but I guess we'll just have to see. Yeah, because I have no idea if you know the what is it called, the movie theater association or something like that. Like I don't know if they're still trying to fight companies to make sure they release movies in movie theaters for sure or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's
I'm sure they'll do something. They seem to be wanting to release things at the same time as they're being streamed, but I've noticed that it seems a little more viable, especially with something like Disney Plus, because Disney Plus just released Cruella, and
oh yeah
Cruella on their streaming service is like $30. They did that with Mulan as well.
yeah
They're actually making you pay to watch it. Um, but it's the same price, and I fucking that's psychotic because tickets, but it's
yeah
essentially the same price for multiple people to get tickets and go to a theater, which
mm-hmm
again, like I don't know how much you would be willing to spend to just watch a 2-hour movie in your own, house or area versus spending the same amount with probably at least one other person
yeah
and seeing it in like a very fanfare kind of way or very very fun kind of way. So
yeah
I can see there's some kind of incentive maybe. I don't know if it's intentional, but like a preference is made to enjoy it in the theater.
yeah
Maybe not a preference, but a choice is made that would make it easier to enjoy in the theater than just straight up buying it for Plus or maybe another
yeah
streaming service. They're gonna do the same for Dune. I don't mean to be on the hump of Dune. I just want to, it's an example.
yeah
Uh, they're going to release it on HBO the same day they release it in theaters. The difference is that HBO, unless you're uh, not paying for the service itself,
uh-huh.
then it's for free
Oh yeah
because it would just release and you'd be able to watch it like anything else. Um,
right
Mortal Kombat came out, you were able to watch it the moment it came out. Whatever came out, it's the same thing with Netflix. Um, if and I don't know why Disney is doing this. It's almost like shooting itself in the foot. Um, but when Wonder Woman, when Mortal Kombat came out, when Army of the Dead came out, you were already paying for the service, and then you could immediately watch these movies. Um,
yeah
it seems a little counterintuitive. Like, if you're going to release Cruella in theaters and you're going to release it in Disney or on the Disney Plus platform, but you're going to charge the same amount for essentially two people to watch it in theaters at home. I I really do wonder if this is intentional to get people to go to the theaters because that wouldn't necessarily make sense to me. Why
yeah
would you
me neither
want to do that as a company that owns a streaming service when you can just make people pay for the streaming service and just air the movie for free?
yeah
Yeah.
yeah I don't know what they're planning to do about that, but like I agree. Like it makes I don't know. Like I don't know what they're planning to do with that cuz $30 is especially like let's say you're just by yourself. Like are you going to spend $30 to watch a movie?
hmm
You know what I mean at home? Like is it worth that
It's
much?
again like I'll bitch and moan about like ticket prices. You
Yeah.
know me. Like every
Mhm.
fucking moment of my life I'll bitch about it. But given the context, I would rather bitch and moan about ticket prices and still go to the movie theaters than just spend $30 to rent fucking Mulan or Raya the Last Dragon or fucking Cruella. Like I would rather spend the $30 and go into a theater than just be like, "Oh, hey babe, you want to watch click, click, click. Oh, look, this movie came out. You want to watch it? Oh,
Right.
$30? Oh, well, sure, why not? Like, there is a difference, I think. I'm fairly
Mm-hmm.
certain it's arbitrary because, we live in this environment where we've, you know, paid to do that our entire lives.
Yeah.
But, like, at least to me, there is a difference. There's a significant difference in enjoyment.
Yeah. It's true. Tis true. Oh.
Oh,
Hmm.
I did forget there is one movie trailer.
Oh. Talk
So
to me.
I forgot about it because it made me a doomer for like a good 5 minutes. Um, I watched it while I was working, and I got a depression boner from it. Um, Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson are starring in a science fiction thriller called
Oh.
Reminiscence.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Have you seen any of the Mission Impossible movies?
No, actually, I have not seen a single one.
Oh fuck! I need to show them to you then. God
Yeah.
damn it.
We need to have a marathon.
No, wait, that's James Bond. Fuck. Anyway, um, Rebecca Ferguson is the leading actor next to uh, Tommy C, and she's apparently the starring opposite Hugh Jackman in this movie
Okay.
where essentially global warming has fucked the planet, and there's now a market for reliving memories. Um,
Oh.
so yeah, this movie, I don't know why. I don't mean to be a doomer or anything, but like, let's be honest. The world is going to be fucked in the next 50 years, okay? You're going to
Yeah.
have fucking. I mean, the only state that I'm glad is going to be fucking submerged is Florida. But beyond that, everything else is fucking bad, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if trading Florida for mass migration and fascism on the rise is probably a good trade off.
Yeah.
But th- this movie looks like it has like a theater production, not theater production, but like a oh man, it's almost like it feels like it was directed by Christopher Nolan.
Oh.
Like
Okay.
this, you know, dark browns, greens, like every stage or like set that you go on looks like it's a dilapidated warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like the premise is that the world is just fucked. And I can't help but imagine this is just like 50 years in the future and everything's just so fucking awful. But
Yeah.
apparently, um, fucking Hugh Jackman keeps reliving this memory that or these memories that he has with this woman, and she's disappeared, and he tries to find her. I don't know, man. Like, it's so I don't know why this fucking trailer hit me different. Where it's like it could be literally any future. It could be the generic like automated hand job future that like every movie has. But nope, it's the fucking it's it's the one where we're all underwater and everyone's miserable.
Huh.
And and it's so like pertinent to the story because everyone's so fucking sad because this world is so fucked
Yeah.
that they just create technology to rely on their like memories. Um it looks interesting. I definitely don't like see it as I don't know, like the trailer does not do justice, I think, to Hugh Jackman's like strength as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've never said that before about any trailer for any movie, but like there's some scenes where it's just like you got to do a couple other takes. I'm not selling this movie at all. That is bad. I'm sorry. Long story short, we're in the future. It sucks. It makes me sad. Um, I would be the main character because I would definitely put a weird cap on my head to relive my past so that I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about the world melting. But it looks interesting. They're trying to do like where did she go? Who am I running into to find her? What lengths will I go to find her kind of thing. Um,
Right.
and I'm interested in seeing where that goes. It's like it's so weird to have the whole like the world sucks kind of thing in
Mm-hmm.
there. I don't know, but I'm interested in seeing where it goes, and I'm interested in seeing some of the performances because I haven't seen Hugh Jackman do all that much. He did a really great performance in another HBO film. God, I can't remember the name of it. He plays a principal in New York who essentially has been embezzling the school. Uh,
No.
yeah, no, it's really good. It's actually really out of character. Not out really out of character, but he plays kind of like a slime ball. Like
No.
it's a really solid story. It's a true story about a principal in upstate New York who who presided over like one of the greatest schools in the country. And he's this really likable guy. Everyone loves him. And then you just find out like he's been embezzling the school the entire time and he's been
Okay.
trying to cover it up for like a year. It's a solid story. There's not much to it. It's good. It's good. It's weird seeing him out of like the action star
Mm-hmm.
thing, but I think that's where he probably shines the most. I don't think the modern superhero movies lend themselves to like really heartfelt or truly capable performances, in my opinion. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I like Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. The I Am Iron Man bit is really good, but like, it took us 10 years to get to that moment.
Right.
The same thing for like Logan. It took us 17 years to get to, him getting impaled and holding his daughter's hand in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I really did enjoy the. I think it's called Bad Principle or something. Doesn't matter. Um, I really did enjoy this movie because it was so out of character for him. He's such a
Okay.
charismatic actor. He's such a handsome guy, and he
Yes.
plays like this. Like they ugly him up a bit. Like they don't put any prosthetics on him, but like they get him in a very natural lighting. And then on top of that, the writing they give him, it's just like you want to like him at first, and then he just turns into like such an asshole, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, so yeah, I want to see what they do with this movie coming up. Uh,
Okay.
I really am kind of disappointed, uh, just given one the pandemic and two the influx of movies that we're getting
Yeah.
or the lack thereof, because it's like Disney now owns the other larger film conglomerate.
Yeah.
So it's like now Disney has the say over how many more movies get made, and fewer movies are getting made. Um,
Mm.
Streaming services can only manufacture so many films, and even then, they can't really compete against these other or this corporation, which now is pretty much just producing superhero movies. And there aren't many blockbusters that aren't that different, that aren't franchises, that aren't you know remakes or sequels, and that's kind of disappointing. Oh,
Yeah.
speaking of fucking conglomerates buying shit and making
Mm-hmm.
fewer movies, one more movie that I thought I would mention is The Tomorrow War.
The Tomorrow War. That sounds
Uh,
familiar.
yeah, because it sounds like shite. No, I'm kidding. Um, the premise is Chris Pratt, who's a comes across as a likable everyman, plays a likable everyman,
Okay.
uh, and essentially soldiers from the future conscript people from the past to fight in the future.
Huh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
aliens have invaded and the population is fucked and they go into the past and conscript people uh to fight in their time.
Yeah.
It looks interesting, I guess. Like I don't know how they'll be able to really work anything like truly I think surprising or interesting into it. It strikes me as like a Independence Day with a little bit of Edge of Tomorrow, which I'm interested in seeing how that turns out. But altogether, apparently it was the most expensive uh, production that Amazon has bought so far.
Oh, okay.
I believe the movie was already produced, and then Amazon bought the rights to it and is distributing it on their platform.
Oh, interesting. All
So
right.
there's definitely going to be a scene where Chris Pratt orders something and Bezos arrives himself in a cameo
I can
and like
see that.
and he's like, "Hey, Chris Pratt, how you doing? Amazon's good.
And he's like something about like we're fighting tomorrow's war.
Oh God, I was going with the unionization thing, but you just made it so much worse and better.
Yes.
Oh God, and the delivery. We're fighting
Tomorrow's
tomorrow's war.
war.
Yeah, that's so good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's
And then
gonna
he looks
happen,
directly
man.
into the camera.
Oh
So
yes.
apparently, fucking I don't know how true it is, but like there was like a release
Hmm.
of his opinion on how to make movies, and he apparently was like bad mouthing or showing off. He's like, it can't be that hard. And he's like a list of all the typical like uh how to book related like step by step stuff, like, oh, you gotta have a hero's journey, morally complex stuff. People like good guys versus bad guys, and it's like they're just talking about all these like generic like fucking bullshit ass steps, and
Yeah.
he's just here like, oh yeah, no, I have the end all be all to making, the perfect story. I can't wait. God, I can't wait till fucking Tomorrow War fucking bombs and it has all of those things in it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, anyway, I can't think of any other movies. I also can't think of any other games,
Yeah, I
and we all
mean,
know I can't read, so
um, yeah, it's been a little lull when it comes to all that stuff. Um,
yeah, it's no worries. It's like we're still in the pandemic technically. It's like the world's
yeah,
kind of fucked itself into a coma, so
yeah, it's we're getting to the end, and of course, people are starting slowly but surely, getting to uh doing their thing. We did. I
yeah.
did want to bring up a Blackwood. I feel like we've talked about it before, but I haven't really heard too much about Black Widow. But it's supposed to
I'm
be coming
down.
out at some point.
Yeah, in a
Yeah, and
month.
okay, yeah. I haven't seen any. Have have they come out with a trailer?
Yeah, they've come out with a bunch. They are just
Okay.
repping this movie. They have been trying very hard to find release dates for this movie, and they've been
Okay.
mainly pushing to get it released in theaters. Um, it doesn't really matter anyway, just because like how they're releasing their movies
Mm-hmm.
just kind of pushes people to want to see it in theaters anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't really understand some of the gripe, because if they're gonna like what we've been saying, if they're just gonna charge money, like an exuberant amount of money to watch this movie, then it would just make more sense to see it in theaters with the fanfare, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, apparently it's set in between Civil War and Infinity War. It kind of
Oh.
chronicles a bit of Black Widow's adventures in between that era. Um, Reconnecting with her old family, understanding kind of like the modern power dynamic that's going on in Russia with the new Black Widow organization that's being made. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know too much about the general plot. I know it's been leaked a bunch of times. Taskmaster is going to be in it. They might imply something with the Thunderbolts, kind of like Avengers Light, the Suicide Squad version
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
Avengers. Um, they've already moved a bunch of pieces that way, right? So they have Zemo, they have American Agent.
Yeah.
Um, they'll probably have Taskmaster and the other Black Widow. Her the character that they're going to be introducing in Black Widow.
Okay.
Her old friend or sister, who's another member of the Black Widow group.
Okay.
So okay, so she she's still on the lam. It's during this period in between Civil War and Infinity War. She goes back, meets her family. Uh, her sister, I think her name is Yurina Belanova or something, who I believe is probably going to take up the title of Black Widow since Scarlett Johansson's gone.
Right.
Uh, Her old mentor, who's played by Rachel Weisz, who was Evie from The Mummy, the wife,
Okay.
the
Yes.
the female lead and the wife in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's favorite fat dad, what's his name from Stranger Things? Hopper. Come on, fucking Harry, you love everything that's mainstream. Come on, tell me that you love fucking Stranger Things. Come on, come on.
Stranger Things Fat Dad?
Yeah, what's his name? I always forget his name. He played Hellboy. Not Ron Perlman, the other Hellboy.
Hey, Hellboy. Dude, yeah, I'm so lost.
Come on, Harry, keep up, man. Um,
But yes, this
the
person.
actor, yeah, the actor in Stranger Things played Hellboy in the rebooted Hellboy movie,
Oh, okay.
the
No,
really
I didn't.
awful one.
Okay, I didn't watch it. That's why.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway, he's gonna play. I think it's the Red Guardian or the Red
Okay.
Guard. I don't know. Crimson Guardian. He's like a uh, essentially like the Russians version of Captain America. He's like this old washed up super soldier. I don't even know if he's a super soldier. He could just be like American agent at one point, who's just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this this Russian symbol. Um, and it looks like the main antagonist is going to be Taskmaster. Taskmaster is the character who can pretty much imitate any fighting style or technique, and I'm really interested in seeing how they do this character.
Yeah.
Um, I've never been the biggest comic book person, but I always remember whenever seeing Taskmaster as a character on screen, like him looking cool from a design. And
Mm-hmm.
I know people are complaining about the design, like the skull and the hoodie thing, but I actually still really like it.
Okay.
Um, I know I've been complaining a lot lately about like outfits and costumes, and I feel like there's kind of a refining, like a bad refining of costumes lately. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's just something that I don't think is working with modern superhero costumes.
Yeah.
And some of it came in when I was watching well, let's be honest, I only watched 5 minutes of Jupiter Ascending. Uh but I noticed that when I saw the poster, you know the Netflix show I'm talking about, right?
I don't think so.
Jupiter Ascending or Jupiter's Children or whatever. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. It was Netflix's attempt to do like a The Boys superhero story. Like, oh
Okay.
yeah, well maybe we should have some morally gray, superheroes, that kind of thing. But to the point, sorry. The comic book has these very straightforward superhero costumes. And
Mm.
there's this shot of all three of your main superheroes in the show, and they all have these perfect, refined superhero outfits. And I just wonder, I don't have the vocabulary to describe the sensation I feel.
Mm.
Like the perfect movie transfer, the perfect visual movie transfer version of the outfit. It's like perfect in every conceivable way possible. Like
Mm-hmm.
they added some kind of like weird structure to the I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. It's it's this desire to make like a perfect like faithful superhero uniform costume.
Okay.
And yet you know what? I'm just going to stop right there because I don't know how to articulate like not a problem I have, but something I keep seeing.
Okay.
The I really wish I knew how I could explain this. It, it's almost like the superhero outfit is as a whole, not like for a particular superhero, but I
Right.
think like the overall like concept
Yeah.
of designing the superhero like costume and uniform now just doesn't have something,
Right.
if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
there's something that is missing to modern superhero costumes that I'm not I'm not quite sure how to articulate. Part of what I noticed, and this has been something that I've been picking up, is I really, really liked the Scarlet Witch outfit, the new one, the one that doesn't
Yes.
like hypersexualize the character, that kind of articulates her through character. But I felt like it was a little overproduced.
Mm.
I don't know how to explain that any other way. And then I was mentioning the Jupiter whatever, not the one with Channing Tatum. I mean this Netflix show.
Yeah.
Um, this superhero outfit, and I feel like again like this weirdly produced outfit, and then they have set photos of Miss Marvel. Um,
No.
and Miss Marvel is like this, I think, this really fun concept of this person who's trying to emulate a superhero and is trying to like change herself to what she thinks a superhero is. And the set photos have like this perfect superhero costume. Like she essentially has like this blue shirt with like a gold like lightning bolt on the front of it, and she wears Converse and like red leggings and a little domino mask, and I I like it. I don't know what it is in the comic that I like about it, but I like that it's handmade and it's simple and it's rough, and
Mm-hmm.
the the set photos, and I'm not looking at like a blurry ass photo. It's like a direct photo of her in costume, and it's not super pixely.
Yeah.
The costume is like the final stage fully overproduced version of her like handmade outfit.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's so strange. Like I'm sitting here and for like the fourth fucking time I'm saying I don't know how to articulate it. This like this production phenomena I'm seeing for superhero costumes. I don't know what it is. I don't think it applies to every single one. Like I don't think it works for like Doctor Strange. I like his outfit and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel overproduced to a degree. I don't know how I feel about the Eternals costumes yet. I've only seen like a couple seconds of their outfits. But
Yeah.
I mentioned this when I was talking about uh the new Captain America outfit, Sam's outfit, where it's like
Yeah.
it's technically comic accurate. I'm complaining that Miss Marvel's outfit isn't comic accurate to a degree, but like now I'm complaining that Sam's is, but just looks so unwieldy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is or how to explain. I'm taking up all this time where it's like there's this there's this thing I just don't know how to talk about.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a weird cuz you want to try to stay true to the comic, but you also want to be realistic. Like, yeah, Sam's suit seemed a little stiff in the neck.
Hmm.
Kind of like Batman's suit, like in the 90s,
Yeah.
where they would like
Oh yeah.
turn like like their
There
entire
goes the
body.
shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I kind of get it. It kind of like looks weird. Like in the 90s you can get away with it cuz it's the 90s, but at this era you kind of would think like come on. No one would actually, do that. So,
Hmm.
I get it. I
I
get it.
just I You know what outfit I actually really liked?
Hmm.
What you like uniform I genuinely enjoyed, and I feel like it gets overshadowed because it's in a shitty movie. I really liked Dark Phoenix's X-Men uniforms. Um,
Oh.
they were kind of simple, but they were straightforward. They got the idea down, and they
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
embodied everything that the costumes were. Um, and they didn't feel overdone. Like it wasn't there wasn't too much going on, if that makes sense. That's why I'm interested in
Mhm.
seeing Thor,
Okay.
Love and Thunder.
Mhm.
We were actually going to mention that fucking swole Chris Hemsworth is.
Yes, that's
Um,
true. We forgot.
they seem to be pulling from like an early '90s version of Thor that's very like uh very like vests and headbands.
Okay.
Uh, and I'm just wondering how much of that they'll do, because it's like he seems to be in the set photos wearing a lot of like late 80s like ground down nostalgia kind of clothing, like a sleeveless red leather jacket, and then like uh, a fucking 80s sweat headband. So it's like they're definitely pulling from that era when he was rocking the hammer and kind of like the more human clothing.
Okay.
So I'm interested in seeing like, because I think in terms of outfits, his was the first to really hit that like, oh, this is like a costume where it's like costumey.
Yes.
um and I'm interested in seeing like what are they going to do with that, with like some of the more like toned, well, it's not toned down, but like some of the more non-conventional superhero stuff that they'll have him wear.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
go
I
to
get the.
school, barely go to college, and this is what I fucking get. Thanks, America.
No, I kind of
Fucking
get the whole
trained an idiot.
the whole costume thing. I guess to me personally, it doesn't really affect me, just because I mean, there's a lot of things that don't affect me, so um, can't really like have an argument towards or against like your position. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's kind of like I kind of get why it would bother you or not bother you, but then I also kind of like it doesn't really bother me, so
Hmm.
whatever. But you know yeah, I see your points though. I see your points. I'm sorry I don't have a rebuttal to your position.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're okay. It's
Okay.
completely okay. I think it just goes along with kind of the sterilization of film production, you
Mhm.
know?
Yes.
Uh, I was talking to you about like Labyrinth and all that.
Yes.
And there are so many nooks and crannies that just, I get it, it's a set. You can see the wall, it's painted with a mountain, yada, yada, yada. But like Jim Henson, I think, is a perfect example of a filmmaker who has something that's produced but does not
Mm.
feel produced. It's very concerned with uh, the suspension of disbelief, or suspension of belief, or whatever the term is, where
Yeah.
it does not draw attention to itself. You
Right.
are meant to be completely immersed in like whatever the Gelflings, or whatever fucking David
Yes.
Bowie's doing when his fucking throbbing erection isn't fucking burgeoning out of his pants. But like
Uh-huh.
when I see modern movies now, I think of like the sterilization of that. Like a set is still, it's very produced. You can still see kind of the, figuratively speaking, the bells and whistles and the strings and the triggers, right?
Yes.
Especially with something like a Marvel movie where it's like half of it's green screen and the other half is uh, usually a fairly standardly produced set. And I
Mhm.
think that goes hand in hand with the outfits as well, where it's like I think some of the attention to detail that you would expect from other movies of days of old isn't quite there. And I don't mean to knock costume design, set design, anyone on
Yeah.
the project. I'm noticing that there is a, not that there isn't an attention to detail, but I think there's a quality that feels a little rushed.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents. They're like assholes. Everyone's got them, and they usually stink, right?
Yeah, totally.
Fuck yeah,
um
stinky opinion.
Thank. Um yeah, I think this is good. Unless you have more to
Fuck.
say. You got something else you want to bring up?
Uh,
For sure. Um yeah. Uh I'm still thinking about Magic, and I'm trying not to be enveloped by it. Doing my best.
Dude,
Cause
let it fucking envelop you,
okay,
okay?
look, check it out. The cards that I want are like, so there's like multiple cards that I need. They're about like they're going for like maybe from a range from $20, no, sorry, $10 each card up to like $50 each card. It's
How
just not.
about because you're a big boy,
Mm-hmm.
you're earning that big boy money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that you put whatever amount that you can away for an entire month that you're willing to put away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then buy the cards.
Yeah, I mean,
How about you just start with a half set? Just start with a fucking half set.
see, this is what's gonna happen. I'm not gonna buy anything right now, but down the road, people are gonna be opening packs like crazy, and they're gonna realize like, oh, or like, because right now they're in pre-order, right? That's why they're so
Hmm.
expensive. So like, people don't
Right.
actually know how good these cards are really gonna be. So down the
Until they're
road,
played in like in the field.
yeah. So down the road, they're probably gonna realize, oh wait, this card's not as good as I thought it was gonna be, or it's gonna be more like they opened so many and it's fucking everywhere and the price just drops, right? That's what
Are you
I'm hoping
telling
for.
me that you're not going to get wrapped up in the lizard brain fervor of getting something immediately when it comes out?
Exactly.
God damn you, Harry. You've gotten a leg up on the system.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wait a bit, probably about a month, uh, and then I'll see the prices, and then go from there because man, I do not want to drop the amount of money that they want me to drop. Um,
Oh yeah, no, of course.
it's pretty ridiculous. So I'm just gonna wait and let prices drop. I mean, I'm happy with the cards that I have. Like, I'll probably invest in, like I said, cards that are more on the cheaper side, like 25 cents each and kind of stuff, and then build little jink brews that way. Cause
Hmm.
I don't. One, I don't think I'm gonna be going into a game store anytime soon and playing tournaments, because I
You
don't
know what?
feel comfortable with that 100% yet.
Yeah, I I called one of my local little stores and I
Mm-hmm.
asked if they had a specific like product in mind. And for some reason, I just again like everyone knows I'm like the fucking the most casual member of like the friend group that
Mm-hmm.
played Magic, but like I just for some reason asked like, "Hey, when are you guys having tournaments again?" They didn't tell me, but like I wanted to play a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I had this desire to play, and I never like I used to do it like a couple times
Yeah.
after work. I would go to like the city and I would put in a couple bucks and play for like a couple hours, but like I did it mainly just to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
But now I just had like this desire to put like a deck together and just play, or fashion my old deck
Yeah.
and just play. And I don't know where that fucking came from.
I think it's just because things are slowly getting back together. It's like, dude, I can start doing things again. It's like uh going to like when I started going into, hanging out with people, like it was like right now like I'm like trying to, people are just trying to hang out with me, and I have to be like, okay, well, I'm busy for the next like 2 3 weeks, so I'll try to hang out with you towards the end of the month, kind of thing. Like,
I'll get to you. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like it's just stuff like that. Like I understand. Like I didn't really have that urge to, like, I mean, let me rephrase that. I've had the urge to play Magic for a while, but I didn't get like that, like I need to build a bunch of decks kind of mentality until
Hmm.
I sat down and played Magic, and I was like, oh man, I missed
You
this.
got the bug.
Yeah, I got it again, and so I no, I totally get it. And the thing is, like, like pre-releases were a lot of fun. Pre-releases, going in, seeing the new cards, and just playing and having fun like that. That's a lot of fun. Pre-releases are great. Those are the ones that I kind of miss doing. Um, but so I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Mm. So,
But yeah,
you know,
I've never felt this before. 600,000
yeah,
people dead, and the only thing I can think of is making a fucking white weenie deck.
yeah. White Weenie's the way to go, man. I'm telling you, if you ever just want to play Magic casually for free, Magic Arena, it's there. It's free,
I would challenge you,
dude. And
motherfucker.
no joke, making Lucy got Arena not too long ago, and I helped her build a White Weenie deck, life game. Actually, Soul Sisters. It's a arena version of Soul Sisters, and
Ooh.
yeah, it's actually quite good in arena.
I really.
Yeah, because they don't have both Soul Sisters, but they have just Soul Sister in there, or Soul Warden. No, Soul Warden, which one of the Soul Sisters in there, and you have a Johnny's
Soul
Pride
Essence,
mate.
Soul Warden, yeah.
Yeah, you have um a Johnny's Pride mate. You actually have two versions. There's the actual Johnny's Pride mate, and then you have this cleric called Hollowed Priest. He has the same ability as a Johnny. So you basically have eight a Johnny Pride mate, and then you have a Soul Warden, and then they actually have Sarah Ascendant in Arena. So you
Oh,
can have
nice.
that. Yep. So and there's the new Heliod, the one for 3 mana. Whenever you gain a life, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature or enchantment. So there's a lot of triggers, and you gain a lot of life, and it's actually pretty good. You can make a cheap, like a bunch of common and uncommons, and make it really good. Because I mean, the Soul Sister is a common, so getting common wild cards isn't that hard. So I made a pretty good Soul Sister deck for Lucy, and I think she won like a bunch in a row. She like got her 15 wins for the day in like a couple hours,
Nice.
with just that deck. And yeah, it's great. Yeah, obviously I have a more refined with more mythics and rares in it, but just the cheaper version, you can go in and actually do very well. So you know, White Weenie, man, it's doable in arena, and it's actually quite good.
I really, what? I'm willing to try that, but
Hmm.
I actually want to see what they've added to the meta for Soul Sister. Soul Sister is one of my favorite kinds of decks.
Yeah.
I feel so comfy in it just because I'm always a stickler about health,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I don't like playing it close to the chest when it comes to that, so I like having a lot of cushion
Yeah.
in my health. So
Yep.
like I'm interested in seeing what like I haven't played for 3 years almost, I think.
Yeah. Um.
I'm interested in seeing like what has been added since then to change up the meta.
So I'll say this: it's not the same. It it basically runs off of gaining a bunch of life, running Sarah Ascendant,
Uh-huh.
uh, and that's it. So the new meta doesn't have a Johnny's Pride mate. It doesn't. I think it runs Squadron Hawk, but what they did is they changed since Stoneforge Mystic is now legal and modern. They kind of went that route. So you run
Stoneforge. Okay.
Stoneforge Mystic, and you run the basic Stoneforge Mystic package, which is like 4 Stoneforge Mystics, and you get like 3 equipment that are really really good. And then you run Squadron Hawk, and Squadron Hawk, and then you run
Squaw.
yeah, and then they run Martyr Sands, Sarah Ascendant, and I think some other. So like it doesn't have any Soul Sisters. It doesn't have the Pride Mate. I think they run Ranger of Eos, but not really. Yeah, it's a different deck now.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, it's just the reason why Stoneforge Mystic was banned for so long is that it's just a very powerful card. Um, and it kind of takes over decks. It's like I can run this deck how it used to run, or I can make it better by adding the Stoneforge Mystic package, and it makes
Yeah,
it and I
it's yeah.
it the Stoneforge Mystic package is a win condition. If you splash white just for Stoneforge, and it's hard to
Huh.
beat that. And so, and
Yeah.
specifically where um Soul Scissors was mono white, so it's like, oh, I don't have to splash anything. I just put these 8 cards in this deck and remove whatever I need. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. So that was a problem. That's the problem with Stoneforge, and it kind of did its thing with Soul Sisters. But I'm pretty sure if you just played your normal Soul Sisters deck and you kind of refined what the deck does,
I'm sure.
you'll
Yeah,
be
I
fine.
get some longevity out of it. Yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. The only thing that would change is maybe your sideboard. If you're playing in modern
The
tournaments,
fuck is a sideboard?
right? But that's it. But overall, it could
That's
do
how
so much.
casual of a player I am, folks. Just letting you know.
Yeah, right. But Arena, it basically has everything that a Soul Sisters deck originally, and there is a new one drop, kind of like Sarah Ascendant. Uh, it's a 1 mana 1/1. Um, it has Vigilance and Lifelink, but you can if
Okay.
you if you have 7 more life than your starting total, you can tap it and it creates a 4/4 Flying Angel.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So basically, you can just pump out angels every turn.
On hills. I like that.
Yeah. So it basically what they do is they run 2 Sarah Ascendant and then 2 of that card. So you kind of like mix and match and because yeah, like it kind of varies which one you want to do. 'Cause sometimes you want 4/4 flyers, and then sometimes you just want a big 6/6 flying lifelink creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's changed a lot, but you can also run your original, and you can upgrade it with those Heliods. I think the Heliods are a little expensive in paper just because they're in standard and they're used.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, actually
I know
they're
I have at least one
of the new one
on me, I
or
think. Oh, the new one, no.
no,
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 no.
no.
I
The
don't
new
I don't even know what
Helions.
fucking cards are now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's expensive because it's used in a infinite combo in modern. And then
Ew.
also yeah, and also it's in standard currently, so people are using it and stuff. So um, just I'd say right now probably just wait for it to drop. I'm sure it's probably like 20-30 bucks a pop, and that's a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Working
So.
on a 9 to 5 salary, I can't spend that kind of money.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's enough magic talk. I think we can end it here.
You know what?
Yeah.
This is a good topic to end on.
Right.
Oh, by the way,
Hmm.
it's theorized that the next Indiana Jones movie will be set in space, so you have something to cry about. See,
Fantastic.
didn't have to be about magic at the end of the podcast. There you go. All right, folks. Um, let's see. You like us on YouTube? We like you when you're on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. Like and subscribe. I see. Look, the people are going to start flooding in now. I can tell
Woo!
you. I can tell you. Just like planting crops, I'm planting the seeds.
Seeds.
Go in YouTube, hitting the mark with Harry and Mark. Harry has been kind enough to do all of the legwork and upload everything.
Yes.
The real hero of this story, ladies and gentlemen, by every means possible. If you want to tell us how awful we are, anything at all, hit us up on our email, hittingthemark2020@gmail.com, and follow us. I didn't say that last time. Follow
Oh.
us on Twitter
Mm.
at capital H, capital T, capital M _podcast. Repeat HTM podcast for news. I don't know where I was going with that. Thank you very much, folks. We look forward to talking to you again or talking around you. Again, I don't fucking know. Talking about things about you next week.
Bye bye.
Auf Wiedersehen. Assholes.